Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. My name is Hunter on this Thursday, December 26, 2024. I hope everybody had a wonderful and Merry Christmas yesterday and had a lot of fun and activities to do on Christmas. We are going to be tracking some severe weather here today, going into Friday, and then another system Saturday into Sunday that will produce severe weather, possibly even a severe weather outbreak. And we're going to be breaking down all the details on that, and then talking about briefly a pattern change as we go into early January later on in the video. So if you want to get up to date on the latest weather information 24/7, you got the channel right here. Subscribe to the channel down below. Check back often for updates. Leave a like down below if you did enjoy the video afterwards, and leave any comments, questions, concerns below. We'll get to those afterwards as well. Here are your weather alerts across the United States here on this Thursday. One thing I did want to point out before talking about severe weather is here in the grays across a lot of the Midwest, back into the Central Plains, and even eastern Colorado, we actually have those dense fog advisories, and that is causing some visibility restrictions across the Midwest, stretching back into the plains, and some of those visibility restrictions could be down to a half, even a quarter mile at times or less. So make sure if you are traveling out here post-Christmas travel that you are taking it slow on those roadways, have those fog lights on, because that will continue to expand in coverage with that dense fog as we go into this evening. And even as we go off here into work or any activities that we have into Friday morning, something to watch out for from the upper Midwest back there toward the southern plains. Let's look at our severe weather maker here as we go through today. You can see a big dip in the jet stream down here in southeast Texas. That is your mid-level jet stream today. That'll get a little bit stronger tomorrow, but be a little bit more displaced further north tomorrow. So the severe weather on Friday will likely be a little bit weaker than the severe weather today. Here is what we're working with. The Storm Prediction Center here from Norman, Oklahoma is putting out a level 3 out of 5 upgrade, an enhanced risk of severe weather, the likes of which we haven't seen in quite some time here in southeast Texas. We have that slight risk extending across all of eastern Texas, southern Arkansas, into Louisiana, and a smidge of western Mississippi here. Let's break down what these storms could bring to the table. 60 to 70 mile per hour winds could be a possibility here across East Texas, east of I-35, into southern Arkansas, into much of northern and central portions and western portions of Louisiana, and far western portions there of Mississippi. Also tracking the hail risk. We could be seeing some quarter, half dollar size hail, especially there, again, along and east of the I-35 corridor into southwestern Arkansas and western portions of Louisiana. The biggest concern I do have for today is the tornado risk. We actually have a chance of a significant tornado, an EF2 or stronger variety tornado from the Houston Metroplex up there and toward Leesville and Lake Charles. So that will be something to keep an eye on, but the tornado risk extends all the way up toward Hot Springs, Pine Bluff, Arkansas there, Texarkana, Monroe, Louisiana there, Shreveport, Alexandria, and even Baton Rouge. So we have a large area here where we could have a couple of tornadoes as we go through today. Let's put it all together on the radar. This afternoon, we kind of have a complex of showers and storms moving across southeast Oklahoma, east Texas, southwest Arkansas, and western portions of Louisiana. Some of these storms could be severe, especially the further south you go. And notice how they become a little bit more semi-discrete or discrete down here towards Houston. Those could be the rotating storms we'll have to watch. That'll continue into the evening hours. We have a line of what we call an MCS, a mesoscale convective system that'll be moving across the Arklatex region into the Arklamis region here. So East Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, all in play as we go into this evening with all three modes of severe weather being damaging winds, large hail, and a few tornadoes. A strong tornado cannot be ruled out. Then as we go into early Friday morning, we're going to wind down the storm intensity and coverage from west to east. So as these storms push into Mississippi, as they push into western Tennessee and southeast Louisiana, they're going to be on a weakening trend as we lose the daytime heating, and we also lose some of the dynamics as that jet stream that I told you about a few minutes ago shifts a little bit further north, kind of displacing the wind shear just a little bit here. So looking at Friday's severe weather, obviously not as intense, the jet stream a little bit more displaced, so the wind shear a little bit less organized than today, but still nonetheless we're watching out for a marginal risk. This is a level 1 out of 5 here for eastern Louisiana, Mississippi, and western Alabama here on Friday. There is a 2% chance of a tornado there in Jackson, into the Montgomery area, Mobile, into Pensacola. So there still is a chance of tornado, but much less than today, which is some good news. Looking at Friday morning, we got some scattered rogue thunderstorms moving across portions of Alabama, down there in towards southern Mississippi, and some of those could extend up there toward the Cumberland Plateau and middle and eastern Tennessee. I think the further north you go toward Tennessee, the severity of the storms will be less here as we have some cooler air and some more stable air up there. But the further south you go toward the Gulf Coast, a little bit more unstable air here, and we could have some severe storms, especially into the afternoon here across the Birmingham, Tuscaloosa area. But further south there toward Montgomery, Mobile, we'll be keeping an eye on those. And then they'll be weakening as they move toward the western Carolinas and Georgia as we go into Friday evening. That is for sure. System number 2, going into Saturday, we have another big dip in the jet stream here, and that's going to really amplify as we go into Sunday, and we have another severe weather outbreak possible on Saturday, December 28th across Dixie Alley here in the Ark-La-Miss region. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that for Jackson, Mississippi, Shreveport, Monroe, down to Lake Charles here, maybe even into the Pine Bluff area again of Arkansas on Saturday. So far, the Storm Prediction Center does not have an outlooked area for severe weather on Sunday, December 29th, but that definitely could change here in the days to come. We'll keep an eye on that. Here's the weather picture as we go into the weekend for Saturday. Notice the parent low is up here in towards Lake Superior and the upper peninsula of Michigan. That cold front extending down could produce some severe weather there on Saturday. Again, that could be an outbreak. New low pressure developing across Kentucky, Ohio, and West Virginia on Sunday. That will bring some very heavy moisture, very moisture-laden system up the East Coast. So the Southeast, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northeast seeing quite a bit of rain on Sunday. Bigger system arriving across the West Coast Saturday into Sunday as well. Heavier snows for the Cascades, the Sierras, and the Rockies. Higher rainfall rates for the west coast of Washington State, Oregon, and Northwest California. Something to keep an eye on there as we go into Sunday. Here is how much moisture these storms will be wringing out here, kind of like a sponge as we go through the weekend. Notice from the northeast all the way back toward the Gulf Coast, we're going to be dealing with 1 to 3 inches worth of rain. Isolated 4 to 5 inch totals cannot be ruled out, especially if a lot of these storms move over the same area. Pretty dry across the plains and here into the desert southwest, southern California, southern Nevada, southern Utah, much of the state of Arizona will be dry, and here into New Mexico, West Texas, very, very dry here in the desert southwest. Moisture picking up though across the west and the Pacific Northwest here, Washington State, for example, western Oregon, Northwest California. Some of these areas could see double-digit rainfall totals, which could lead to some flooding out there. In the higher elevations, British Columbia there, Vancouver, into the Cascades of Washington State, into Oregon, the Sierra Mountains here in California, and the Rockies, especially up here in central Idaho and western Montana into western Wyoming. Could be seeing several feet of snow as we go through the weekend. Limited snow across Ontario and the upstate portion of Wisconsin and Minnesota, but we're really just seeing a couple inches of snow there, and that may be melting very quickly because look at those temperatures. I mean, the reason why we're not seeing the snowfall with these systems is look at the temperatures well above normal today, well above normal tomorrow, and then as we go into Saturday and Sunday, it's just really going to continue with those well above normal temperatures that are 20, 30, 40 degrees above the norm for late December standards. And my friends, that's not going to lead to a lot of snow out there, that is for sure. But if you're a snow lover, if you're a colder weather lover, things may start to change as we go into early January. Here is next week's pattern from Monday, December 30th, straight through New Year's Eve and New Year's Day through Friday, January 3rd. We're going to start to see lowering heights across the eastern United States. Now, lowering heights doesn't always mean frigid Arctic air at this time of year, even in January. There still has to be a lot of players that are involved here. And what I'm talking about, we got to need a big trough. We're going to need the cold air source. And look at the cold air source up in Canada is warm with a ridge of high pressure. We got a big ridge here, kind of northwest to southeast orientated here from Greenland back here toward the northwest Atlantic. And then we have another trough trying to develop over here in towards the Gulf of Alaska. So getting the cold air, even in the first few days of January, still may be difficult. We don't have much snow on the ground in the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, or the Mid-Atlantic. So to be quite frank with you, it's going to be tough to get those real cold Arctic plunges right now further south because the cold air source is locked out in Canada with the warmer temperatures. The snow is melting up there, by the way, and that's going to make it even more difficult here in the first few days of January till we can replenish that snow. Will we start to replenish that? Well, the precipitation anomaly is showing we're going to start to see more active weather across southern Canada and into the northern U.S. as we go into the first few days of January, and that step down process may start to begin, but it's going to take some time. Notice the snowfall accumulation during that period going through Friday, January 3rd is very light up here across the southern Canadian prairies. Big snowstorm though for Quebec. You've already had one or two of those this year so far, and you could have another couple of feet of snow on the way through your 3rd of January, and maybe interior northeast. So same areas in western Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, into portions of upstate New York and near the Great Lakes. That's where the snowfall will reside. We'll shut off some of the snow for the Sierras, the Cascades, and the Rockies as we go into early January as it looks right now. We'll keep you updated. My January outlook will be coming out in the next few days. We'll get you updated on what you need to know about that. Subscribe to the channel for that as well, and check back often for updates. Like the video if you did enjoy it by giving it a thumbs up. Share this video with friends, family, and on social media. I definitely appreciate it. And if you want, leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. We'll get to those after the video, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Thursday out there.